Hello, this is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I prep for a card class. I'm going to be using the card I made in yesterday's video. I'm replacing the wallpaper with the yellow background, yellow on yellow from Spiffy Speckles, because I have more of that. I only got one of the Spring Fling pack, but I have like 6 of the Spiffy Speckles. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my Papertrey ink white cardstock, and each piece will make 2 cards. So I'm just measuring at 5.5, and I am making 6 total. One of them is going to be the example, so I have to make an example, and then I'm making 5 kits for 5 people to come to class. And now I'm just using my scoreboard to score them at 4 1/4. And I go very carefully because sometimes if I push too hard, I use a different Martha Stewart bone folder than the one that came with it because I like it better. But if I push too hard, I can poke a hole through the paper. So then I'm folding them with the bump side in. It just makes the outside look smoother. And then I am scoring, not scoring, but burnishing, I suppose, on the edges to flatten them. And I set aside 1 card for myself, and then I have 5 cards scored and folded. So I'm showing you the 5 cards, and then I have these card sleeves are what I use for my kits for class. So I'm just going to start to put them together, and the first thing going in there is the card base. And then we'll start adding the other pieces as we go. So those are the 5. And then when people are done making their card, they can stick it in the card sleeve if they want to. So now I'm getting the yellow on yellow Spiffy Speckles. Unfortunately, based on the size of this stitched rectangle I'm using and the size of the paper, I can only get 1 out of each, but I will keep the rest for scraps. So I had at least 6 pages. I think you get 3 in every pack, 3 of each, I'm pretty sure. So I had 6 of those. I just only felt like making 5 kits today, or 6 of everything. So I'm showing you a lot of the die cutting that has to go into putting a kit together. So this yellow is going to be the wallpaper. And this card will be very similar to the one I made yesterday. I actually just realized I need to cut 6 more of this rectangle in white. So I will add that to the kit. So unfortunately that's not in this video because I just realized that. But so just like in the video yesterday, I used a white rectangle base, and then I use the brown rectangle to stamp the wood grain pattern. And then I cut that off where I wanted the wood floor to start and end. And then the rest of it I cut out of this yellow. And then that will be the wallpaper, and then they'll be flush to each other, both on top of the white rectangle. So the white we're just using as a base, but I will need to cut those and add those to the kits. So now I'm going through, and I'm going to slip these into each of the kits. And I do 3 cards a class. This video is just showing you how I'm prepping for 1. So I go through all of this times 3 for 1 class. Sometimes I prep more kits just so I have extras in case anybody wants them by mail, or I want to make extras of the card as well. So now I'm just using the craft cardstock and cutting 6 of these rectangles out to run them through the die cutter. And I can only get 5 because of the size, and so I get the 6th out of another piece, and I'll use the other half of that cardstock as a card base. So I make sure that I stay within 1/2 of it so I can get a card base out of the other half. Then I'm just running these stitched rectangles, the same size I did the yellow ones, through on the craft cardstock. And then I will have to do this again for 6 of the white cardstock. And I actually have my, I ordered 6 more packs of Papertrey ink white cardstock. It's actually sitting in our package locker system. I have to go get it. But it came today. It showed up today. A little faster than they normally ship. Sometimes they take a very long time to ship, but I do need the cardstock and it is a good deal, so I will go pick that up. And then the rest of my Lawn Fawn actually comes today too. It's out for delivery, so I'll probably just wait till that one comes and then go get both of them. I had to order the Smooth Sailing set online since my store pickup didn't have it. And then I also ordered the Hammock and the Trees dies to come with it. So now I'm just putting the craft rectangles in there. So at card class, I kind of go between how much I want them actually doing or stamping, and so it's kind of hard for me, but I think I want them to stamp the wood grain stamp that you saw in yesterday's video onto the brown, and then have them choose where they want to cut it, and then have them measure and cut their wallpaper as well. Since I kind of took away some of the stamping, I will have them stamp the sentiment. That way they can choose the sentiment they want. There's several that come with the set. They can choose and stamp the sentiment, but stamping and die cutting the images saves me a lot of time, and then I don't have to do it there at card class or have people do it at card class either. So now I'm using a 12 by 12 sheet of the the yellow backside of the flowers from Spring Fling for the frame. And these frames, for some reason, the paper is very, very hard to get out of these dies. These are the stitched scalloped frames from Lawn Fawn. And I end up poking a hole because I'm using my tweezers and I'm poking through to get them out. I don't show you doing all of these because it takes me way too long, but I do show you how I get it out. And I wanted to try this parchment paper trick. It didn't work that well. It didn't help that much. Putting parchment paper basically into the die first, and then the paper under that is supposed to release the paper a lot easier. I set that frame aside for myself because I actually poked a hole in it. If I ever do anything that makes one of the items look a little off, I use that in my card example instead and give everyone else the better ones. So I'm just going through and cutting these out, and I just use my tweezers and kind of scrape along, hold down one corner of it, and then drag it out. But these are very, very clingy dies, so it's very hard to get those out. So I'm going to do the other 4, but I'm going to pause so that you don't have to sit through that. So now I have all the frames. I've set one aside for myself, and I'm carefully putting these in there so they don't bend. And then I realized sliding it down the front was just going to be a lot easier, so I did that on the rest of them. Okay, so we've got the 5 kits so far, and now I am taking a piece of my Papertrey ink cardstock, and we're going to start stamping. I thought about using my stamping platform, one of my Tim Holtz ones, to do this a lot quicker. It might have been quicker, but these stamped pretty well, and I could keep stamping several more of them if I didn't think I had enough good ones. And so I end up stamping maybe 6 or 7 of these, I can't remember. And I decided to clean the stamp with an alcohol swab because they usually stamp better after I give it a good cleaning. Even though I used the stamp yesterday and cleaned it and put it away, it does a lot better after a fresh wipe. So I'm just trying to get a better image out of it. And that one wasn't too bad. But I think this is where I take a break and clean it off with an alcohol swab. Some of these, I don't know if you can tell, you probably can't see that well, but they weren't as crisp as I wanted them to be. So then I end up getting a lot better image. So I think I stamp about 6 of these. I decided that a couple of the ones I had stamped already were good enough. So I stamped enough so that there were at least 6 good ones. And then I am going to ink up the cat, and he ends up stamping a little better. I think I end up with probably 7 cats. They were all just fine. I just picked 6 of them. And I have to count with my fingers, apparently. So for the fishbowl, actually, I didn't show you in yesterday's video, but for the fishbowl, if you want, there are 2 add-ons, and I have to move to another piece of paper because I ran out of space. But you'll see me stamp those next. So there are 2 add-ons. There is a very skinny oval for the top of the water, and then there's a line, like a sloped line, to be the sand along the bottom. And I think I stamp all these fishies first, and then I do the fishbowl parts. But stamping the fishbowl pieces is actually really easy, just with a clear block and eyeballing it. So I'll be mounting up the oval next, I believe. And I think there's just some hairs, so I'm just cleaning it off to make sure I get a very clean stamp from it. So you could definitely use a stamping platform or positioner to set the stamp down and then pick it up, but it's very easy to eyeball where it needs to go. So then I do the 3 on my other paper. And then for the sand, which I'm going to mount up on the block here, it's just a sloped line, and there are a couple where I will take a thin, like a fine Sharpie pen, you'll see, and just add a little bit to the ends so it blends in with the bowl a little better. And I think I cleaned that one off as well. Like that one right there. So then I find my Sharpie pen, and I'm just adding a tiny little bit to the ends so that the sand line blends into the bowl better. I have a Memento pen, but for some reason I can't find it. Otherwise I would have used that. I bought one of those so that I could, I don't know, draw things if I needed to color them in with Copics, like something I didn't have a stamp for. Or extend on images or something like that. So I cut those all out, and then I set them up to die cut them out. And I had already die cut some. I just wanted to show you the process I go through. I can use that same Post-it. I have full stick Post-its. I can use that same Post-it for probably 12 die cuts before it becomes a little rough. And I didn't want this to end up too long, so I'm just showing you some of the die cutting here, and then I skipped to all of these cut out. So now I have my 5 kits in front of me, and I'm just picking one of each of these, and I'm actually swapping out the fishbowl for the one with a little bit of the messed up ink, and so I set that aside for my example that I'm going to be making. And then I just take one of each of the images and put that into each kit. Make sure it's in the front so everybody can see what they'll be working with. And then what I bring to class with me is all of the adhesives or glue and markers and anything like that. and then also the sentiment on blocks, and they can stamp that themselves. So that is how I prepare one card for card class. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.